Hello, I'm Lilay. Today we're discussing the book Anne of Green Gables. Why do we discuss this book? We all have moments when things don't go well or as we hoped. So what should we do? Anne's answer is, if you decide to be happy, you'll always find a way to be. Isn't that powerful? The little girl who said this, Anne, looks a bit unusual with her freckled face, red hair, and constant troublemaking. People say that children with red hair are cursed by the devil, just like Anne. It seems that's true, as misfortune has followed Anne like a shadow since her birth. Her parents died of fever when she was just 3 months old. She was later adopted by the impoverished Thomas couple, but sadly, they abandoned her in the countryside a few years later, and Anne nearly starved to death. She was then taken in by another woman, but this woman had 8 children. Why did she bring Anne home? To find a little maid to work hard for her children. Despite Anne's abilities, she was sent to the orphanage at 10, which is already tragic enough. One day, 4 months later, Anne received unexpected good news. A brother and sister from Green Gables wanted to adopt her. After many twists and turns, she finally arrived at Green Gables, only to be almost sent away by the owner, Marilla. This woman angrily shouted, "You're mistaken. I wanted a boy, not this ugly girl." There's a line in the book that says, "My life is a splendid tomb for burying hope." It's really so bleak. But even in such a situation, Anne was still able to change everything through her efforts. How did she do it? Are you eager to meet Anne? A bit of background. The great Mark Twain read this book. He had been through many trials, and by then he was already battling illness and nearing the end of his life. He was so moved that he wrote to the author, L.M. Montgomery, saying, "Anne is the most touching and beloved child character since the immortal Alice." The author of this book is Canadian writer L.M. Montgomery, and she wrote it in 1908. This story still feels warm and vibrant today, as if it could melt all the ice in our lives. Anne has indeed touched many people. She gave young Hillary Clinton a lot of courage and inspired J.K. Rowling, author of Harry Potter. This book also popularized a place, Prince Edward Island in Canada. There, Green Gables has become a tourist destination, attracting many readers who come to see where Anne lived. Prince William of the UK even flew to Prince Edward Island for his honeymoon, saying Anne is Kate Middleton's best friend. If you read the story, you'll find it's mostly about the little details of everyday life with almost no villains. All the forces are transparent, loving, and warm. Anne possesses 2 extremely valuable assets: curiosity about life and an optimistic imagination. So don't see this book just as children's literature about growing up. It's much more than that. After reading this work, I reflect on my relationships with others, think about friendship, respect, trust, and how to communicate with my own children. So I hope families can read it together. And it is indeed a very beautiful book. Let's read a few lines. A breeze stirred the clover field, refreshing and carrying a sweet fragrance. The distant lights of the village flickered through the gaps in the trees. The distant sea endlessly murmured its lullaby, and the western sky was adorned with the brilliant colors of the sunset. The reflection in the lake became increasingly enchanting and soft. Anne, faced with such beauty, was moved. "Dear world," she whispered, "how lovely you are. I'm grateful to live in your embrace." This is Anne. Her attitude is to always have daydreams, regardless of what she experiences, using daydreams to counter a barren and meager life, maintaining surprise and optimism. So this is not just about one person's situation, but an Anne-style choice.